Hi guys, it's Nyla Dar here from Love Now TV, transforming fear to love and helping you not to suffer unnecessarily. And one of the ways I hope you will learn not to suffer is to get more of a glimpse of how powerful you are and how much wisdom and potential you have within you to deal with any problems that occur, and that you look in the direction of where the answers are, which is within you. And in today's dream, I want to share specifically a problem-solving dream. I have shared this story in my videos on sexual abuse, but I wanted to share it specifically here because it's a great example of problem solving. So I'll just give you a brief summary, and that is that I was sexually abused at the age of 7. In my 30s, I went into therapy and I connected to the abuse and I relived it, and I put a lot of time and energy, as was it was the time when, that's how they worked so much, is to go back in time and so on. So I shared it with my parents, who were very sensitive, kind and understanding, but it kind of opened a can of worms for me, and it was like it was a scab I couldn't stop scratching. And so I just was full of a lot of anger and rage, emotions that I didn't normally express, but now that's what I started to do. Now, I didn't know at the time that, whatever thoughts you have, they come with a feeling, and you live and experience it. You live in the experience of that. All I knew was I just felt angry and reactive all the time, and I was reliving it. So I was in a strange place, and my parents and family were concerned that I was changing, and not in a nice way, but I wasn't willing to let go of this anger. It meant something to me, and so I was quite defended against letting it go, and I was quite defensive about them wanting me to not feel the way that I did. And it wasn't until 3 years passed and I still had only anger and rage that I felt the most, that I really got concerned for myself. I thought, God, I don't want to be just singing this one song and just feel anger and rage all the time. So I prayed, and I prayed to God and said, look, help me see something new, because I'm stuck in this place and I don't know how else to be. But it can't be good for me to just be feeling anger and rage all the time. So so that night I had a dream, and I dreamt that I was in the house of God, and there was other people, and everyone was then telling God what lesson they learned, and then they had to climb up a cliff and then jump into the sea and die. And when it came to my turn, I was quoting out of a book, but I was hesitating, almost like I hadn't read it before. And I hear the voice of my teacher behind me say to me, Nyla, haven't you read this book? And I say, yes, I have, but I know that I haven't. So anyway, I don't know what my lesson is. I'm just reading this book as part of that lesson. And all I know is that it's an astrology book. And then it's my turn to climb the cliff and then jump off. I don't want to die. I wish I could just roll down and not have to jump. But I do what I'm meant to do. I jump into the sea and I expect to die. But instead of dying, I'm just in this beautiful world of gorgeous, vibrant, very colorful, alive sea creatures. It's like a different world that's just beautiful. and then I woke up, and when I woke up I was like really happy and hopeful, and I just knew that here was an answer to my prayer, and that and I knew instinctively that the that I wasn't going to translate this dream, that I wasn't going to analyze it, that the answer to this dream was in a book of mine that I had on astrology, and I'm interested in astrology, so I had quite a few books. So I went to my study and started to look for them, and I've got a habit of buying lots of books and then just when it makes sense, reading them. So there's quite a few books that I haven't read, and when the time feels right, then I read them. So I looked through my bookshelf, and there it was. It was a book called The Dynamics of the Subconscious by a psychotherapist and astrologer, and called Liz Green. So I got the book and I started to read it, and the first chapter was on anger and aggression, and I was just like reading really quickly. My heart was beating like, whoa, wow, I knew I'm going to get an answer here. Anyway, I read the chapter, and right at the end was this short story about a snake, and this snake was listening to a sermon given by a priest, and the priest was telling people to be kind to each other, to be loving, to be respectful, and to treat each other well. And this snake is listening, and he likes the sound of it, and he thinks, I'm going to try out this philosophy, and so he goes on to try it out. 6 months pass, and the priest returns, and the snake goes up to the priest and he says, you know, you told me to be loving, you told me to be kind, you told me to be generous and respectful, but look at the state of me. I've been attacked, I've been battered, I've been spat at, I've been abused. And the priest turned round and said to him, but I never told you not to hiss. And what I concluded was that hissing was necessary if it felt appropriate. Like if somebody's trying to touch you, they're being inappropriate, if you need to shout, you need to be angry, and you need to put a clear boundary, that it's okay, that anger might have its purpose, but that I didn't need to live in it, that I had somehow built this cocoon around me of anger as a safety net, as a way of coping, as a way of protecting myself, thinking that's what I needed to do. But that was making my world very small. And it wasn't allowing the vibrancy of life to touch me like I had seen in the dream, that it was time to let it go. And I didn't know that. And you know, the teacher in my dream, she points me to the book and to the lesson, to the understanding. And it was very helpful. It allowed me to let go of the anger and rage. And then later on I learned that, yeah, even if you get triggered and you have these feelings, that if you leave them alone, they will naturally pass, and that I didn't have to live in anger and rage, that I could trust myself to take care of me and to protect me and to understand the value of it, but not to live in it. So it was very loving, you know, that moves me a bit. That the wisdom in us is so there, and all we have to do is listen to it. And it doesn't mean that, you know, you have to dream to listen to it, because we have insights during the day. And when our minds quieten, or when we realize I'm in a place that's not serving me, I'd love to see something new. And just that willingness to see something new, just the willingness to see it, it doesn't have to be a prayer, just the willingness to see it and look in a different direction allows an insight to come. So wisdom is there within us, guiding us, whether we're asleep or awake. It's always there. And I love that I could go to bed at night and ask for help and be given the help exactly as I needed. I mean, I think that's amazing. And that's what you've got going for you. You're made of wisdom. Wisdom is in you. You are wisdom. So I hope this gives you food for thought and that you become curious about wanting to see things in a new way on any area of your life that you might be struggling with. Thank you for listening, and I'll share another dream with you next week. And I hope it'll have some value and purpose. Thank you.